man. Let it free through the book of me.
This hour of the Alan Autry Show is sponsored by Sinlong, the most realistic artificial grass in the Central Valley.
From NFL quarterback to Hollywood to the mayor's office and now behind the mic at KXEX, this is the Alan Autry Show. No retreat.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
What the hell's going on out here? Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So, 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable. Free at last! Free at last! Thank Almighty!
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX.
And welcome to Alan Autry No Retreat. It's Taco Tuesday. Boy, I look forward to Taco Tuesday because most Taco Tuesdays, I get to sit next to the big taco of Fresno, California, Mr. Robert Leone, otherwise known as Bullet Bob. To my left, only geographically, not politically. Welcome, Bullet Bob.
Thank you, Haas. Always a pleasure. Fun to be here. It's always fun here.
It is always fun. I wish we could.
You know why?
I wish we could live up to our intro one. I think we have one of the best intros with those sound clips.
It's fun to
Kennedy,
be here.
Martin Luther King. Then it drops off.
It's fun to be here because Jeremy, our engineer, always laughs at our stupid jokes.
I know.
That makes us feel better.
Well, that's always young ones. They don't know any better. I can't see him over there either. Jeremy,
He's hiding.
They got this big monitor because we're broadcasting from a different studio right now we normally have. We'll be in our new digs on Thursday. And we'll be able to, yes, we'll be able to take calls again. Remember those days?
No, I don't, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, it's been a while. When we take calls and get that interaction with our followers of the show, our fans, members of Autry's Army. You got to get a moniker for yours names. Leone's Legions or somebody. Bullets Brigade. something up there.
Well, I'm not. You're the host. I'm not the host.
I don't. Well, yeah. Hey, me host, you host.
No,
I mean, you're free to take over the show anytime. Much to the
I
joy of many of our listeners
that
out
offer
there.
too.
Smart man.
You're the
No, but hey,
the host.
Jeremy, I was going to ask Jeremy a question. Are you here? I can't see you. You're going to have to tell me when the commercial. Oh, I just saw that thumb. But he looks like one of those monitors. Look, I got him from the neck down, but there's a big monitor on his head. He looks like AI, the next generation. He does, man. Half human, half machine. Speaking of, where do we begin on this? The big elephant in the room, the war, looming war. Well, it's not looming. It's already started. The war in the Middle East.
House Republicans.
Yeah.
That.
Where do you want to start?
Biden and
those
Israel.
Those two joyous subjects, which would you prefer to start with? Do you want to start with the knuckleheads?
I'm
not talking about Hamas. They go beyond knuckleheaddom.
No,
they're into evilldom.
Yeah.
The knuckleheads in the Capitol Hill, they're Jim Jordan, the only candidate now. They got rid of McCarthy. Steve Scalise came into the picture, and along with Jim Jordan, and after a while, Scalise compromised, said, okay, I'm going to get out. I'm behind you, Jim Jordan. Kevin McCarthy throws his support about Jim Jordan. So they have a vote, and 13 brilliant knucklehead Republicans decide to vote against Jim Jordan today. What say you about this?
Well, we touched on it briefly before the show. I am disgusted. I am thoroughly disgusted with the Republicans and how they're acting on this whole thing. They need to get their act together, get a speaker, and carry on the business of the country. There are too many things going on, Hoss.
Oh, my gosh.
These guys...
No, I mean, too bitty.
I'm fed up with these guys. I'm going to change my party affiliation.
Well, where are you going to go?
I'm that
you're not going to become a Democrat.
No, but I'm going to probably go independent.
Yeah, I'm an independent. I left 10 years ago. It'll be like a big piano off your back.
I'm sick
And I encourage all you out there, Democrats, Republicans, the independents are the largest majority of voters. Did you know that? Each party would like to tell you, no, we're the ones. No, the independent party, because they're tired of being sheep. They're tired of this nonsense. And they don't want to be a part of the machinations that are a part of that now. Both parties have denigrated into embarrassing, ultra poisonously partisan stuff where they don't even work together. They don't even talk together. And back in the day, remember when we were, not too long ago, Bob, being able to, quote unquote, reach across the aisle was a necessity, whether you were a candidate from the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. The electorate expected you to be able to have that ability. That's why they didn't get behind and mass Barry Goldwater, because Barry Goldwater, I don't want to reach across the aisle. The zealots on the left never rose up into the Democratic Party. By those, I mean the ultra-left kind of pre-woke wokesters who said, no, I don't want anything to do with somebody who's pro-life. I don't even want to be seen talking with them. But, level-headedness, common sense, what's good for America, not just a party, was the tone, the mood that dominated politics up until recently. And now, if you say you're even going to attempt to work with the other side, you get what they call primaried. And I don't know what I think the answer is you just got to get fed up with it and tell these folks no more. I mean, they take this situation with Jordan. I mean, Democrats, you can point to a bunch of other situations like this that they seem to be tone deaf to what's going on. You got the left still saying, hey, let's be soft on crime when cities are overrun with crime. People can get killed every day, random violence like we've never seen in this country. Yet they still think if you can let a criminal, get in touch with their feelings, that they will not, you let a guy that has a rap sheet a mile long, convicted of 10 felony attacks, and you let him back out in the street saying, well, he's cured, and then a day later he hits an old lady in the head with a baseball bat, and you're wondering why. I mean, they have their craziness over there, but the Republicans have always billed themselves as being the party of common sense, the party of rationality, the party of the grown-up, of the adult in the room, all of that stuff. And you're looking at how oblivious these 13 people are. You got a war raging in Ukraine that could change the world, that could end up in a nuclear war. You just got a war in the Middle East.
Same thing could happen there.
Same thing could happen
with
there.
Iran.
Exactly. You've got a border that's not even a border. You're letting 8 million people in here that we don't even know who they are. A lone wolf just killed 2 people in Sweden. A lone wolf Islamic radical. You think that's not going to happen here? Out of that 8 million, you don't think there's a couple that want to see America taken down and are willing to give their life to take out a few Americans? Sure, they are. You've got crime, as I mentioned, out of control in the streets, and you can't even elect a speaker?
Yeah, it's disgusting. It's despicable. And the Republicans, not that this, well, it may happen. I don't know. They're going to fool around long enough, and it's going to end up having a Democrat being the Speaker of the House or something.
Well, I don't think that's going to
happen. I don't know if it'll get that far. But my point is, don't even get to that point.
I tell you one thing. I don't.
These guys are fooling around, playing footsies, and they've got business to take care of, and it ticks me off.
Yeah. I don't think you're alone. I know you're not alone, and the thing is, it very well could cost them the House and the Senate in 2024.
Exactly.
If they
Let's look forward a little bit.
Their act together. But, I look at it, and I'm saying, you evoke the name of Reagan, all of these guys, and ladies that, these 13. I guarantee you, all of them say the political heroes was Ronald Reagan. Well, Ronald Reagan was the man who said, if I get 60% of what I want, I consider it a victory. We've moved that issue down the road. You mean to tell me that Jim Jordan can't be 60% of what you want? I mean, he's not like they're asking you to vote for Mitt Romney. And it's not like you're asking them to vote for Matt Gaetz. It's Jim Jordan. He may not be the perfect individual for that part. My goodness, Kevin McCarthy, to his credit, just endorsed Jim Jordan. And I want to tip a hat to Kevin McCarthy. A lot of folks, politicians, would have felt so sorry for themselves, they would have disappeared from the scene, being shot down as Speaker. No, he said, I'm not leaving. I love America. I love it too much. I'm still in the thick of things here. I'm going to be a part of things. Well, good for him. And he said, look, we've got, and especially the war in I say pending war, the looming war in the Middle East between Israel and Hamas and the Gaza Strip. I mean, it's already going. They're bombing right now. But the ground forces are getting ready to come in there. And, and I know, the Democrats, they vote like in lockstep, like sheep. It's from the top down. The DNC tells them what to do. They stick together, man. They're the collective mentality, that Marxist mentality of no dissent, collectiveness. I get that they're strong at that. And I'm not asking the Republicans, who are supposed to stand for individual liberties and freedoms and being able to go against the grain when you feel morally responsible to do so. I espouse that all the time on this show. Be your own person, regardless of what you're up against. But that's not what's at play here. You've got to be able to compromise that adherence to that sacred individual right that the Constitution gives you is so misapplied in this situation. It's not. You've got to settle, and it's not asking you to settle for Hakeem Jeffries to be the speaker. Mm-hmm. You've got to get the speakers. You've got to get aid over there to Israel like now. And if you actually want the Ukraine to even have a chance to be a factor at the negotiating table, to have any strength, you're going to have to get your act together. So you're abusing, I think, and using that individual. I'm going to go out and say it. Out of those 13, I think there's at least 9 that are using their conservative credentials, their right to go against the grain, their individual liberties to have their own mind. They're using that as a cover for personal vendettas that they have against
individuals. That's exactly right.
What do you
They
think?
don't like Jim Jordan.
They just don't like it.
From a personal standpoint.
Same with McCarthy. Matt Gaetz. God, Johnny, Matt Gaetz, you like take him out behind the barn. Yeah. But, I mean, he goes out, and it's obvious he just didn't like McCarthy as a person.
Right. Yeah.
I'm
speechless for the first time in my life because this is so ridiculous.
Well, we are where we are now, and I would just they took one vote. They're getting ready to take another vote. And let's just hope that this first vote was kind of ceremonial in nature, because some of the pundits predicted that this would happen. Because it was in secret ballots. You didn't have to stand up there and say aye or nay. This next vote, from what I understand, I think is going to be a roll call vote. I might be wrong on that. But where you have to stand up there and say.
Well, the first one was a roll call vote.
They had to stand up there and say?
Yep.
They did?
Yep. It was televised by local
news
anyway. Or national news.
Okay. Well, let's
just
pray that they get their act
together.
Come on, guys.
And get it together. You've upset me, and that's not good for my heart condition.
That's hard to do nowadays. You've really learned to control your emotions.
Well, except on the golf course, as my buddy Dave
still
will tell you.
Still break a few putters.
No, I don't throw clubs anymore. It got expensive.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the situation over there in the Middle East, which is going to affect all of us. Mm-hmm. Big stuff, folks. Big stuff that will reverberate for generations to come, and we just we're going to have to talk about it. We'll be right back. And we're ready anytime. Jeremy.
What happened to our picture?
It's right here.
Commercial break?
Yeah.
Oh.
I went to edit the audio and it disappeared. That's not good.
Edit the audio?
Yeah, like to cut it, send it out to radio.
I didn't get it.
That's why he's the engineer.
I don't even try to get it anymore. I just do the knowing nod. Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Now that knowing nod is, I get you when you don't understand a word the person just said.
That's like when you see somebody come up and say, "Hey, Bob, how you doing?" Hey, pretty good. Good to see you too. You don't know. You can't remember their name.
I know I'm going to get caught one day because I'll have people come up to me and and over the years, say, yeah, you know Bob Johnson, don't you? He used to work with you over at such and such. Oh, yeah, Bob. And you know, I don't know Bob Johnson, don't remember working with Bob. But what I don't want him to do, I may have and just forgotten, I don't want, or my Uncle Joe or whatever, no, I don't want the person to go back and tell their Uncle Joe, hey, you're lying to me, Uncle Joe. I saw Alan Autry and asked him if he knew you.
He doesn't have the slightest idea.
So I don't want him to do that. But I know one of these days I'm going to get caught in that, though. Because somebody's going to come up and say, hey, Mr. Autry, how you doing? I'm doing good, son. How you doing? Hey, my Uncle Joe said he worked with you on this project back in 1993 on a project called Go Get 'Em. Did you? Yeah. And he's going to look at me and say, you're a lying SOB. I don't even have an Uncle Joe. Look at you. I know that's going to happen.
I don't even
It hasn't
have an Uncle
happened.
Joe.
It doesn't happen yet. But I know it's going to. And I'm going to have to say, nah, yeah, you got me, buddy. But I don't want to hurt, because I meet a lot of people and I forget, you know.
Well, especially at your advanced age.
No, I was
now, you can't-
forgetting when I was in my 30s and 40s. That's never began. I thought about putting a name tag on me from the time I turned 35 so I look down and know who I am. All right, you ready? Oh, Chewy, I'm so sorry to keep you waiting on hold for so long. I know you're usually at the top of the show. The light was blinking, and we got started talking about the 13 knuckleheads in the house. and I on this show, I don't think I'm betraying the promise that I don't call names, vicious names. In fact, I did a disclaimer first show. I wouldn't call somebody bad names, SOBs or whatever, or just person. But I said I do reserve the right to criticize and label behavior of how a person may be acting. And I pointed out the difference between knucklehead and knothead. And knuckleheads are redeemable. I mean, you do something, it's a knucklehead move. I'll call them, hey, you're a knucklehead. You're acting like a knucklehead. But when you move into that next level of knothead, you know, I got to really call you out. And you got 13 knotheads that moved out of Knuckleheadville quite a while ago, and so I'm not going back. I'm not going to start calling vicious names, but you got to call behavior out for what it is. Let me ask you this, Bob. No cliche saying, you know, if your house is on fire, you don't throw gasoline on it, right? Right?
Yeah, I'd say that's probably accurate.
Okay. If you you care about your chickens, your hens, you don't put a fox in the hen house.
Probably not a good idea.
Right?
Probably not a good idea.
If you want marital advice, you don't call and ask Johnny Depp and to give you marital advice, right?
Wouldn't be my first call.
Right.
No.
And you've just bought a racehorse, you're going to race it out to Fresno Fair. You don't call Chris Christie and ask him to be your jockey, right? Correct? Those things.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, then, answer me this.
Yeah.
Why in the world would you ask for Joe Biden to come over and help you with the Middle East war? Bibi Netanyahu, what is wrong with you?
He asked for Biden to come?
Yes.
Oh,
In
I
a
thought
phone
Biden
call.
did that
No.
on his own.
So, hey, if you can trust what comes out of the out of the White House,
well.
that's a big. That Bibi asked him to, and it's hard for me to wrap my mind around this. This is the same Joe Biden, which Obama said, never underestimate Joe's ability to F things up. We've seen what he did in Afghanistan. What he does during any kind of war-related policy,
Is this an effort to make amends for Afghanistan, to try and prove that he's not that kind of guy, that he really wants to do something here? I think that part of it?
Some people have brought that up. My point is not necessarily that. It's probably in the mix. You got election year coming up, and he wants to prove he's got the Israel. I support Israel chops, and I'm as pro-Israel as any president or any lawmakers ever been when his record shows just the opposite.
Yeah, well.
But I'm more surprised at Bibi Netanyahu. I mean, Joe Biden going to the Middle East right in the middle, or at the beginning of what promises to be a war that could wind up starting World War III, probably with more potentiality to do that than the war in Ukraine. And you're asking Joe Biden to come in. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, and we don't want to unduly alarm folks with talk of World War III. But I'm telling you,
we're already in it.
People, I'm telling you, folks, this could very well lead to that. We don't want to be over dramatic and any of that kind of thing, but this is not a good situation over in Israel, which may be self-explanatory. But the potential for an escalated conflict between all of the countries that surround Israel and Israel is very high. What Biden is going to accomplish, I don't know. I suppose maybe just to reinforce that the U.S. is behind Israel in this thing, to show some kind of form of strength. But his foreign policy doesn't prove any of that.
Well, no, but you got a guy who goes beyond that. I think that everything he says is the opposite. That we have a secure border when we don't.
No.
When I'm going to do everything to make sure that no one gets hurt, especially American soldiers when we withdraw out of Afghanistan. Tell that to the 14 Gold Star families as a result of that. The same guy that says, there's no inflation. The same guy that says there's no rise in violent crime in America. I mean, he exactly
as far as
opposite. So he
wants. As far as believability.
So that's why I think probably you're right. He thinks there's some political advantage, but there is no good reason for his trip there. There's nothing good about this. Starting with, as you said, what do you gain? What does Israel gain in its commitment to defeat Hamas when on 60 Minutes Joe Biden has said you should not occupy Gaza? Of course you're going to occupy Gaza. There's going to be Israeli troops in Gaza for the next 3, 4, 5 decades, maybe forever. Of course they're going to, quote unquote, occupy. And by the way, there's 2 cities in Gaza City and on Gaza Strip in general. The one above ground and the one below ground. Hamas has taken all of this money that they've gotten over the years, which was supposed to go to hospitals and schools,
infrastructure,
humanitarian, to actually build a country.
Yep.
To build. It's gone instead to build this elaborate network of tunnels that stretch the whole length of Gaza and probably into Israel. And you can bet your last dollar that Israel is going to be in control of those tunnels. So you may have some kind of semblance where Gaza gets back some kind of autonomy. But you got to understand, this is the people that elected Hamas. You say, well, it's not the Palestinian people that we should be going after. It's Hamas. Well, and I'm sure there's people in Gaza that don't like Hamas.
No.
But you can't take that chance. That's why I'm for you can't have 300,000 refugees, as some of these folks on the left, AOC and her group, want to welcome to America right now. You can't take that chance with it. But Israel, you got Joe Biden on 60 Minutes saying that Israel should not do that. It's not in their best interest. That Hamas has to be destroyed. But again, you have a president who does exactly opposite of what he says he's going to do because, quite honestly, he doesn't know. He says what he was told to say before the interview. And by the way, in the interview, if you saw it, it was scary. Bobby, he looked like he was going to keel over at any time.
Well,
Did you see any of that interview?
Yeah, I saw a little bit of it. Scott Pelley, I think it was Scott Pelley that did the interview, was it not?
Yeah.
And he had mentioned before, as they got started, that the president was very tired. So he's laying the groundwork.
Cover for him.
Yeah, there's going to be laying the groundwork.
Stutter, he said the lifelong stutter.
There's going to be some issues because the president's tired. I want to kind of not switch gears, Haas, But I'm really concerned about why there is, since this attack, and you can see it here, you see it all over the world, why there's so much hatred toward Israel. Now, Jews around the world are afraid to be able to practice their faith because of potential violence towards them. And this is turning into, I'm telling you folks, read your history. This is turning into exactly what happened in Germany in the late 30s and 40s. There was, the Jews were chosen as the persecuted, to be the persecuted people, and they were the scapegoats for the world, especially in Germany under Hitler. The same I'm seeing the same thing. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm seeing the same thing happen now with all of this hatred toward Israel and toward Jews. This is the worst case of anti-Semitism that's been around since World War II. What's going to happen next? I mean, they were told in France, I believe it was France, don't wear your yarmulke because people will know you're Jewish, and it could be trouble for you. So what's next? Are we going to see? Are they going to start painting Stars of David on Jewish businesses like they did in Nazi Germany? I'm telling you, this is bad stuff. And you have people in America, as we sit here right now, who to this day, I mean, it only happened a week and a half ago, saying that, why are you supporting Hamas? Well, those atrocities never happened.
Yeah.
Does that sound familiar?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there are no concentration camps in Germany. What are you talking about? This is scary stuff, folks, and there are a lot of sympathizers. Now, you have to separate Hamas from the Palestinian people. That's true. But 60% of Palestinians approved, this was prior to the attack, approved of Hamas being in control in the Gaza. This is scary stuff that's happening to the Jewish people. And where's all the hatred coming from?
Well, it goes back thousands of years. I have my own personal opinion. I think a lot of envy, a lot of jealousy, because if I may make a broad statement, I don't like to do that in terms of describing a people, but I think there are some characteristics, ethnic, even religious characteristics that you can use to describe, in general, groups of people, and not necessarily in a derogatory way or anything like that. I don't mean that, but I think the Jewish people historically have been very hardworking people. They've been very faith-oriented people. They work together on problems that they may be facing. They have a team-type attitude towards things that many are jealous of. I really do, because you look at historically, wherever the Jews have gone, they've managed to not only survive, but ultimately prosper. And there's people that don't like that. You know, I believe there's a lot of that at play. You go into, geography about, the homeland where Israel resides right now. Should it be Palestine? Do the Palestinians have a historical right to that land instead of and not Israel? Well, you can go back. They conquered each other, left, back and forth. Philistines, Israel, boom, 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 till Babylon come in, took the Jewish people away, scattered them all over the world, and didn't have a homeland. But this stretch of land, prior to becoming in Israel, the state of Israel, was controlled by England and to some degree Egypt, kind of together. Nobody really was clamoring for that land. And after World War II and all the atrocities that were discovered, we talked about this on the show yesterday, the world collectively said, we need to help out these people. They have really suffered. by a low estimate, 6.2 million Jews killed in Germany, gas chambers, concentration camps around the world, total even higher. So what can we do? And there was this desire to have a homeland. So the UN led the effort to create what is now Israel in 1948. It wasn't Israel coming in, the Jewish people, and conquering a people that was there, already there. It was the UN. So if you got a gripe, go to the UN. It was all these countries that vote. Now, there was a war. It was, by today's standards, a minor skirmish, if you will. People didn't want Israel to establish a state there. But by and large, it was small. And the state of Israel was formed in 1948 and proceeded to take that little stretch of land, come together, work together, stay together, and became basically the envy of the Middle East. And there's one other reason why they hate them. And it goes back to that inexplicable pull and attraction to the darkness that people have, whether it be radical Islamists or atheism. There's just an attraction, that dark side that we all have in us, that you let that dark side just go unbridled. You're attracted. Just like Germany, that we talked about it, masses attracted to Hitler. How could Jim Jones get hundreds of people to take poison and die with him? For some inexplicable reason, you're attracted to that, to that darkness. But Israel started out, continues to be, the only functioning semi-Western style democracy in the entire Middle East.
Yep.
And that is a threat to radical Islam. Israeli women can dress how they want when they go out. You ask any Israeli husband, a Jewish mother and wife carries a lot of weight in the house. You are free in Israel to worship who you please. Whether it's, you can study the Bible, the Old Testament, the Torah, or the Quran. You have true democratic freedoms there. And that state has flourished. They created desalination plants now that is supplying water to the whole Arab world. Their manufacturing base, so that's small. They just succeeded. And I think they were afraid, these radicals are afraid, that democracy, people would be more attracted to that, and they would lose their power over people. So you combine the historical aspects of it, who owns the land, and that dispute, with the religious differences, the stark differences, a religion that values freedom up against an interpretation of the Quran which denies freedom to everybody. You either convert or you die, and that's who they're fighting over there. And then I think what ultimately started this war was the latter, the attraction of democracy and the acceptance of Israel. Because, Bobby, you'll notice these radicals, like from Hezbollah, from Iran, you'll never hear them, when discussing Israel, use the term Israel, because to them, you're validating them as a state. To them, there's no such thing as Israel. It should be wiped off the face of the world. You'll hear them referred to as vicious Zionists. They'll use that term a lot, Zionists.
Yep.
And that's why they use it. Why don't they call it Israel, the Israelis? To them, there is no such thing. You should, and if you are Jewish, you need to be exterminated, because they feel as a Jewish individual, you'll be constantly seeking to the day you die to have a homeland called Israel. So when they kill those babies, decapitate babies, all they see is future Jews wanting to have a homeland. They have no conscience, because the way they interpret the Quran, God has removed his favor, if he ever had any, on the Jewish people, put it on them, and they have a responsibility to their God to exterminate the people. That's how crazy these folks are. That's why on the show yesterday, Bob, and I won't run out of time here. I'm sorry to dominate things, but
no, you're fine.
But you have nothing less. Remember the movie Dirty Harry?
Sure. Love that.
Loved
all of them.
Yeah. Remember he's out going after the Scorpio, the killer.
Yep.
And the mayor was trying to restrain him a little bit. And Harry Dirty Harry knew what he was up against. Harry had been out on the streets. He had seen guys like this before. The mayor was being political. Harry, you beat up the guy. He was trying to, again, have Dirty Harry show restraint going after this killer. And he hadn't struck in a while. He'd killed like 3 or 4 people in the movie and had gone, based on a true story, by the way, the Zodiac killer out of San Francisco. Anyway, the mayor calls Dirty Harry in his office, dresses him down and said, listen, you got to back off a little bit. Besides, the guy hasn't killed anybody. Maybe he's dead. Maybe he's stopped. And he starts to leave. Harry leaves. And the mayor, and he says that he's going to kill again. He tells the mayor. Gets up and leaves. The mayor stops and says, Harry. And Harry turns around and says, yeah. Says, what makes you so sure that he's going to kill again? And Harry looks the mayor right in the eye and says, because he likes it. These terrorists are going to continue to kill Israelis because they like it. They like it. And I guarantee you that army that flew in, tore down the fence, flew in on the hang gliders, they've been raised, I would venture to say 90% of them, they look to be about median age 19, 20. You take a look at it. About median. You didn't see any old guys. Didn't see any real young. About 19, 20. The year that Hamas, if you go back, took over 2007, when Hamas took over Gaza, those young men have been raised to hate Jews. Watching cartoons about Hamas killing little Jewish children. I mean, in math, they would teach math. If you have 5 Jews and you kill 3 Jews, how many Jews are left? You think that's exaggeration? It's not. So in answer to your question, Bobby, how can they hate go that deep? Excuse me. As tragic as it is that these young people have been inculcated from birth to hate like we've never seen hate in our lifetime since World War II. And you mentioned that. Yeah. That you can actually, and when they call for restraint, I'd like to ask you this, and don't escalate. Please, Israel, don't escalate. Okay. Well, let's put that on the table, escalate. Well, how about the other side about escalation? When you have it in your charter that a race of people should be exterminated, to me, that's a little bit of an escalation. How about removing that from your charter? Ask Hamas, Iran, Hezbollah, all the supporters, to remove that part in their charter that Israel doesn't have a right to exist, and see if they do it.
Never going to happen.
But you see what I mean? It's all about
manifesto.
You want to, if you want Israel to de-escalate and stop bombing, because all they know now, they're fighting an enemy that is going to fight them and kill them till there's not a Jew taking a breath in this entire planet. That is their ultimate goal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you tell the Israeli military or Bibi Netanyahu to go? And that's why I wonder why Joe Biden's going. I mean, what advantage? And another thing, Bobby, in his own, on another reason why he shouldn't go. They're going to kill this man running him around the world. I don't care if you're on Air Force One. That's a long trip. You just got back from the Middle East. You're traveling everywhere. He can't. He's already had brain aneurysms. Are you just trying to give him another? There's nothing he can do over there that he couldn't do by the phone.
Not at this point in time.
That he couldn't do by the phone.
Or Zoom.
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean, he's liable to get off of there.
Now.
I mean, and what if he says at a press conference, he could ignite. I wouldn't surprise he'd get up there and go, well, I told you I was going to come to East Palestine, Ohio. So here I am in East Palestine, and I believe in Palestine. I believe in having an East Palestine, a West Palestine. I mean, he's liable. I only say that half jesting. There's no telling what he's going to say. And, his handlers are going to be there, but Bibi and the Israeli brass are going to be there with him. There's not going to be the same coaching available to him before he goes on in front of the press. And I would expect more of Bibi. I just don't get it.
Yeah. Well, I just
for many reasons why he's going.
I'm just astounded by the worldwide expression of hate for Israel and the Jewish people, and I'm astounded. Maybe not. You listen to enough 19-year-olds get interviewed on TV about why they're protesting pro-Palestine, and you finally realize that their minds are filled with mush, and they don't know what they're talking about because they have no sense of history. They have no sense of even current affairs. But it seems like a great thing to do is to jump on the bandwagon. And I think a lot of that is from our institutions of higher learning.
No doubt
that they've been brainwashed into thinking whatever they're thinking. So,
well, we know what they're thinking. That America and Israel are the root of all problems in the world.
This is a terrible place. This is a terrible place, and
that used to happen just in higher education,
and that ticks me off. Well, that insults me.
Yeah,
because we had friends die protecting the rights in this country. My Uncle Bob in World War II, fighting Nazism. He was in Italy when he got killed. So, to come around and protest all of this stuff ticks me off when you don't have the slightest idea what you're protesting for or against.
Yeah.
Because you have no sense of history.
And if you let your political beliefs and your affiliations override your empathy for burned babies and beheaded babies.
How do you do that?
I mean, a lot of these rallies, most of these rallies, at least what I've seen, they don't even start out with, I condemn the Hamas raid and all the atrocities, but here's why they did what they did or what have you.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
There's no moral equivalency, Haas.
Well, you're not even getting that. You're not even getting I oppose this, I'm disgusted by this, and I condemn this, but they're not even giving it that. They're starting it off with, we support Hamas. We support Hamas. You don't say, hey, look, I supported we lost friends in Vietnam. I supported our troops, but I didn't support the My Lai massacre.
Yeah.
You want us to say, oh, yeah, these troops went crazy, they may have had a reason why. We know what the reason why, because they just had many of their friends blown to bits by the Viet Cong, and they were full of rage, and they went in there, and they just wiped out a village, every man, woman, and child. And you can say, I support our troops who were in Vietnam, they fought bravely, but I can't go along with what they did in My Lai. That's inexcusable. They don't even say that.
Yeah, I don't know.
And you know what? Nobody punishes. But I will give credit to some CEOs around the country that, and I forget the name of I'm going to get them and call them out because I'm going to congratulate them. They've said, we want to know these 31 organizations at Harvard that signed this letter of support for Hamas and what they did, because we don't want to hire them.
Good.
We don't want them anywhere around. We don't want their grotesque hate, contaminating our company.
Well,
and I think that's a step. There's like 4 or 5 of them. Yeah. God bless them.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
And then
are there sleeper cells within that too?
Oh gosh, listen, right now, I hate to say this, but it's
now.
true. Jake Sullivan goes and takes a victory lap a couple of weeks ago, saying the Middle East has never been more quiet. Like their administration, everything's been fine. When you don't hear anything from the terrorists, they're up to something big. Do you know there was no chatter, very quiet, pre-9/11? just know that that's a rule of thumb. Our intelligence tells us that when they go dark and nothing happening, something big is getting ready to happen. Yeah. And you know what? Something big is getting ready to happen in the United States of America in terms of terrorism.
Yep.
Because we let our guard down. We thought it was better to do surveillance and intelligence gatherings on people that go to Jason Aldean concerts, or shop at Bass Pro
or PTA.
They're keeping people safe from terrorists if we keep our eye on those folks. Love you guys. Pearl, thank you.
Done?
We're done, buddy.
Oh.
We're done for
Wow.
today. Stick a fork in us. We're done. Appreciate you folks joining. God bless you. God bless America. Do your best and let God do the rest. And you know what? That's the thing. We just got to rely on God's grace, God's strength to get us through this. Love y'all. Bye-bye now.
Who cares about the clouds if we're together? Just sing a song.